day, isn't it, a Thursday? I hope yours has started better than Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's, right? Oh my gosh, what do you make of this? It's almost like, I just feel with news at the moment, so much is going on that I feel quite desensitised to all of it, that at one point you would think the former prince, the late Queen's son, being arrested from his royal home, the police raiding 2 royal residences, currently no doubt sitting in a solitary prison cell or being grilled in an interview room. And who knows, could he end up in prison? It's quite an astonishing thing. The Americans cannot believe it. They're like, wow, what is going on in Britain? But I sort of feel a little bit, I don't know, like it's expected or something. Anyway, of course, it is sort of a big story rippling throughout the world, quite frankly. What happens next? Is this going to affect the monarchy? My view is no. Of course, people who don't like the monarchy, Republican, whatever they're called, Republic, that's it, the pressure group, we use this as a reason to say, well, they're all rotten. This is a product of privilege. They shouldn't be in these positions. It's such an outmoded model, etc. I kind of feel most of us go, yeah, he's dodgy, isn't he? But it doesn't affect the rest of them. We can all have a dodgy family member. Not that I do, mine are great. But we can all have a dodgy family member, can't we? I just think it's all quite Renaissance, really. It's like taking the royal family back to the origins. Maybe we'll have some sort of, horseback battle in the middle of Windsor Great Park with, like, lances and jousting. Well, like I was saying to Kev, maybe they'll suddenly repurpose the Tower of London to be the royal prison it was always supposed to be. I may jest, but this is very serious in terms of what did he know? Why was he giving it to Epstein? Why did Epstein want it? What was it used for? Because this is about our national interest. This is highly classified information that he was playing fast and loose with for his own purposes. And astonishingly, some of these revelations now about Sarah Ferguson. In fact, that one of these leaked emails says that she had been in receipt of, lifestyle sponsorship for 15 years from Jeffrey Epstein, and other emails suggesting that the princesses, Eugenie and Beatrice, kind of knew anyway. They were old enough to say, like, well, mummy, maybe you should just say he's served his time in prison, he's a changed man. It's like, oh, gosh, we're not going to have any left. It'll just be William and Kate, won't it? But I think, the right thing has happened. How constitutionally significant is this going to be? I don't know. But let's ask Philip Kiszely, as he is the senior fellow at the New Culture Forum. He might have some idea. Philip, how are you doing?
I'm all right, Alex. How are you?
I am okay. Look, I'm wearing black in mourning for the monarchy.
Me too.
Hey, I love it when me and my guests match. Although I don't see this. I think it's awful for Andrew, but deserved, quite frankly. Arrested on his birthday, rattling around in some prison cell in Oxfordshire right now. But the law is not above anybody, or nobody's above the law. Sorry. So, what's coming to pass is what should come to pass.
I think, actually, curiously enough, I think in the long run, I think this will do the royal family a favour. I think there's a difference between the monarchy and the royal family. And we've had problems with this royal family. And there is a very specific and horrible problem around him. He seems to be not only, potentially, allegedly been breaking the law, it's potentially, allegedly treasonous. He's just a horrible, nasty, overprivileged human being as well, so it seems. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to separate the rest of them from him, and particularly William and Kate. And I think that they will come out of it much better. There will be a difference. There will be a discernible difference between them, their family, their struggles. She's been ill, and a general sense of decency that pervades them, versus the horrible, nasty, monstrous stuff that has surrounded him for decades now. I mean, just when I was listening, I heard the news this morning, and it's unprecedented in modern history. This is unprecedented in modern history. The only thing I was just looking before, the only thing I can think of that comes even 100 miles to it. It was the Baccarat scandal in the 1890s, which was just about cheating at cards and society and etiquette and all of that kind of thing. This is a whole completely different ball game. But as you were just saying before, I'm a bit desensitized to it as well. But I also I first heard this morning. I was at King's Cross Station and I was coming up here. I've been doing stuff yesterday and the day before in different towns, and I just feel a sense of foreboding. It's not just this stuff; it's all the other stuff that's happening around the political right and all of that kind of thing. That you've been attacked and all of this kind of stuff.
Don't I know it?
No, but it all just seems really horrible. And I have this particular sense of foreboding that everything's falling apart. Yeah. And this is kind of emblematic of all of that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's funny, I had a sense when the late Queen passed away, I kind of felt like that was the beginning of some sort of horrible change. Like she was some important keystone culturally that kept us all together. And no, you're right. It's at the moment, Britain is losing its identity. It's teetering on the brink of something really quite ugly. People are becoming emboldened to say things, think things, do things that they never would have done even 2 years ago. And I do understand that every force sort of invites an equal and opposite force, and arguably the extreme left have dominated for too long. They have wreaked so much devastation upon the country. But it's how we now handle this in the years going forward. Let's go back to how the royal family should handle this. I always get the impression about Prince William is, for however gentle he looks and nice, and I used to do Sea Rescue and here's the Earthshot Prize and all of that, I get the impression he's a hardliner who doesn't take any rubbish from anybody. Didn't take rubbish from his brother. I get the impression that for a long time he's been wanting Andrew to be banished from the family, not to be anywhere near them. It seems to me as if they've decided the princesses can't be associated with them as well anymore. And so I do think that, I'm actually kind of excited for the day that William becomes king, because like I said, for all of his cuddliness, I don't think he's that woke. I understand that he's actually become quite Christian since his wife was diagnosed with cancer, and I kind of feel like he will be a little bit more forthright about dealing with crises than perhaps Charles currently is.
I think it's the pair of them. I think it's Kate as well. I think they understand the firm. You know what I mean? I think they understand what's expected of them, and they understand the notion of duty and responsibility. And it feels to me that certainly Andy doesn't understand any of those things, and Harry as well doesn't. It's all about what's in it for me and entitlement. But I think just going back to the future king, I think it does look reasonably good, and I too was thinking about when the Queen died, and it almost felt today. It almost felt that when she did go, she was that linchpin, wasn't she, that held, in a way, that contract between past, present, and future. She was even though she was the king and she was queen and she was surrounded by opulence, there was something small c conservative about her as well. She was a symbol of small c conservatism and Englishness, which isn't extreme and about largesse and opulence. Even though she was the queen, there was something about her. I'm not explaining it very well, but there was something there.
There was. We all knew it. The whole world knew it. Some of the testimonies that came in from around the world, the two that stick in mind was Justin Trudeau. Not that I'm a big fan of his, but he sort of said,
God, no.
I loved her so. And Macron said, to you, she was your queen. To the rest of the world, she was the queen. And I thought Macron put that beautifully that day. And I hate to speak ill of our late queen because I adore her. I have a big picture of her on my wall at home from when she was a mechanic during World War II. And she's in her uniform, bonnet up on a Jeep, spanners. I love it. I think it's so inspirational. But people might criticise her, saying, well, she sort of mollycoddled Andrew. People said that was her favourite son, that she didn't sort of keep him in check. She let him get away with bad behaviour. She protected him when perhaps she should have seen which way the wind was blowing and been a little bit stricter with him.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that. I don't, we're talking about the royal family here. And
Yeah.
the key word is family.
Yeah.
And she, the parent, and sometimes we do have blind spots, as far as our children are concerned. And we do have shortcomings. And I can completely understand that. The difficulty that we have in analysing all of this stuff and the difficulty that the royal family have day to day is that they are, the public institution, but they are also private. They're also people. They have relationships. They have fallouts with each other. And it must be incredibly difficult in this day and age of social media and intrusion on a level that we've never seen before to be able to cope with all of this stuff. I mean, this sheer chaos that Andrew has wrought today on the rest of his family. I keep thinking about that, and this is I'm obviously really soft, but I keep thinking about them as a family. I keep thinking about the king. I keep thinking about half of them are ill. Some of them have had cancer and all the rest of it. How is that going to impact on them? But I keep thinking about, the general public as well, and we deserve so much more than this character, this fool, who's thrown everything away.
I mean, this is it. When Meghan Markle besmirched the great institution of the royal family, which is our head of state and is the cultural glue that binds us together, and it actually, I think, serves as, it does a great ambassadorial role for Britain on the world stage as well. We had no truck with her dragging the reputation of our royal family through the mud, and now we're faced with this. But what I'm trying to ascertain is, when you look at royal families around the world at the moment, in Belgium, I believe the King of Belgium has been been forced to have a DNA test and recognise a love child he always claimed wasn't his. There's another royal family where someone's stepson has been arrested for rape. There's another royal family, I think it's a Scandinavian one, where the princess went off with some hippy-dippy faith healer who's a bit balmy, and that caused a lot of issues. Royal families are sort of doing what royal families historically have always done, which is not always behave very well. And I wonder if this reflects on Britain. Whether people look at the United Kingdom and go, well, that's really gross, that's horrible, it's a corrupt, nasty little island full of a horrible royal family, or whether they sort of look at it the way that I kind of look at it, which is, most of our family are good eggs and do a good job. He's a black sheep, he's horrible. But in a way, it's almost like our royal family was the precursor for the Kardashians. We invented, a family at the centre of reality television, if you will. And we've been through this stuff before, all the furore over the affair of the King and Camilla, the alleged affair, over who killed Princess Diana. This isn't the first time that the world has been sort of fixated on, issues emanating from the House of Windsor.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think there's something else as well. We're heading into a new era. Well, we're in a new era now. It's 2026, so we're firmly in the 21st century, which is very different to the 20th century. And I think most people are thinking about the role of the royal family in the 21st century, which was in the 20th century, which was different to the role of the royal family in the 19th century. So this is changing all the time. And I don't think we've quite got the model yet. The model will emerge, the model will solidify when William becomes king, and that will set the template, I think, for the rest of the century. But what we're doing at the moment is we're struggling to understand. I think, if you think about Andrew, his heyday was the 1980s. His heyday was real heroicism in the Falkland Islands, and I think he's struggled after that because he simply had no role, and I think he represents, I suppose, the 20th century, and I think that will quietly just go away, and we'll look forward and to thinking about how the royal family remodels itself, represents itself, and reworks itself for the 21st century and the future, because this is about the contract of generations. It's a family. It represents us. It represents what Britishness is. We revolve around families, and that Burkean contract, in a way, that past, present, and future, is much more complex than we think it is. They represent our heritage. They're a very definite visual sign of Britishness, heritage, and greatness. They need to take that along with them, but of course they do need to change and adapt to new environments.
I tell you what, though, if I was advising the royal family in terms of PR, which thankfully I'm not because I don't think I'd be that good at it, but what I would suggest to them is get Princess Anne out. Everyone loves Princess Anne. She's no nonsense. She's hardline, and there she is with the same hairstyle she's had for 1,000 years, on a horse, in a Land Rover, scruffing about in a barber jacket, doing what for? You know, just wheel out a bit more Anne. I don't think they use her enough, and I think that she's a perfect antidote to Andrew. And it's so funny, isn't it?
She's the polar opposite, isn't she?
Yeah. And this is the funny thing. Both in William's generation and Charles' generation, it's the younger brother who's had the issue with not, you know, being in line to the throne, not being the one who's going to inherit. And, you know, maybe the ego just can't handle it. Whereas the women are just like, oh, whatever, let's just get on with getting on, shall we? I mean, I like that lot. I like Anne, I like the Tyndalls. I'd say more of them, please, because I think they do represent the sort of humble, earthy Britishness that the royal family always has done, whereas Andrew represents, like you said, like the profligate waste, privilege, entitlement, all the things that are bad, if we're sort of looking at it through the angle of a classist angle, looking at the royal family, an elitist angle. Right.
I think, oh, sorry, just very quickly, I think there's another thing as well. I think what Anne represents is stoicism.
Exactly.
We need that now.
Oh, yeah, she's a mother's daughter. I love that woman. Get her out.